Hello, McToes. Hello, man. Let me get this all right in front of my face. That sounds sort of good. Not real good, but it sounds sort of good. So I'll raise my voice to accommodate Google. Real good, but it sounds sort of good. Voice to accommodate Google. Okay, I guess I can live with it. Let me turn that off, bring it down. Hello, Shingles. How you doing? Today we're just doing a sort of off the cuff. Rick RP just gave me an idea, and I just thought, well, it's off the cuff, and it's a topic. And yesterday we talked about incels. We talked about the theory of justice and incels, and as we can see that if we go through the theory of justice and incels, we see that incels are a disadvantaged group. And it could be said that they should be treated like any other disadvantaged group and everything. So we have to kind of help them along since they are incels and everything. So today we're going to talk about the levels of incel. If anybody wants to join and add in this thing, it'll be a new philosophy, the levels of incel. If anybody wants to come in, they can come in. Hello, Aaron. Good day, Aaron. Yes. So we got to figure out what are the levels of incel, and is there an already pre-existing levels of incel? And I think we all know from media and from MGTOW experience with having incels around that we all know what incels are. They're involuntary celibate men. Involuntary celibates would seem to predetermine that they were going to be lonely men in their lives, unless they do something about it. And that's what MGTOW would suggest. So what is a level? What are the levels of MGTOW? We can do it sort of like on a MGTOW thing. We can do levels of getting out of MGTOW or getting out of incel, which would be like a 12-step program, the 12 steps of incelism. We could do it that way, or just the levels, and at the end level, you become like a monk incel. Monk incel is a good idea, and we can place that at level 5, and say a monk incel is a pretty good idea. You can become comfortable within your own skin. You can be comfortable within the world you live in and look for enlightenment. And that replaces most anything in life, like any monk that would take off and commit his life to the pursuit of enlightenment. And that's what a monk is. He commits himself to the pursuit of enlightenment. And that comes in several different forms and shapes. And I guess the levels would be between a monk incel and incel zero, which incel zero is an incel that doesn't know he's an incel. And that's the frustrating part. Some incels don't know that they're incels. They don't know that they're wondering why their life isn't working out. We can look at some philosophers and psychologists. Sometimes I look, I don't think philosophy at this point would help with determining what the levels of incel is. And it won't help our brother incels move through life in an orderly fashion without being hurt or at risk and all that stuff. We don't want to see our brothers at risk. You've got to take some time in life to figure out the type of life that's right for you. Yeah, that's right, Shingles. You have to take some time in life to figure out what kind of life is right for you. It's a plan. Get a plan. That's what a lot of men have always said to me. Get a plan in this thing, Joe. Have a plan. So I guess incels would have to have a plan too. Career changes, yeah, and most people are apprehensive to any kind of change. Yeah, we've talked about that in the past, Shingles. We've talked about being apprehensive to change and functional fixedness and things like that. We get functionally fixed in the positions we're at, and we get sort of frozen in those positions. And incels can have that too. Level 0 incel, they're frozen in the position of being an incel, and we can help them through that. Since we did determine yesterday, or at least I determined yesterday, that if I applied the theory of justice to incels, that they're a disadvantaged group, and it's up to us all to help them instead of berate them. And that's a good thing, and that's better than what we see, the casual cruelty on the internet and in the media towards incels. When you think about incels, there's the classic example of that kid in what was his name? Elliot Rogers. He was the classic example of the kid in California. He had a pretty good life, but he was an incel, and that would drive him nuts, and it drove him to murder. And the other guy in Canada. So we have two examples of the incels that were so socially frustrated that they committed a heinous act. But that's, when I look at things like that, you can take that all out of, you can take those things all out of shape. And what we're looking at is two people. And what I say is two exceptions to the rule doesn't make the rule. The rule would be probably incels are pretty normal guys like Bill Greyhouse and Steve Hoka. And Steve's an interesting, curious case of an incel. He think himself to be an incel, but when you look at Steve, I don't think he's an incel. I think when we look for people from the past and great philosophers and great thinkers, one person that I would think that could help the incel crowd and to get in touch with the incel in these guys and break out of that and break out of their rut or whatever is Alfred Adler. Alfred Adler, a great book that I read lately. It's the courage to be disliked is what it's called, and it's Alfred Adler's book. The theory of the courage to be disliked comes from Alfred Adler, an inferiority complex. I can't hardly pronounce it. I've never been able to pronounce that. The inferiority. I have to say that 12 times. Inferiority complex. I heard this a lot when I was growing up. Some people used to flippantly say it. What's wrong with you? Do you have an inferiority complex? and sometimes when kids were shy, and they would say, "Oh, he's got an inferiority complex." I gotta say that a couple dozen times so I can, having inferior feelings about yourself. Having no positive motivations about what you're going to do, them sort of things. It's paralyzing, and I think it paralyzes our brothers, our brother incels. And what did Adler believe about the inferiority complex? I can't get that I in there. Inferiority. They have to live in a normal universe with norms, and from childhood they're born, and they've probably seen that there's some a small part of themselves that doesn't reflect society. And that's a very disconcerting feeling. And I know that feeling. Most of us get it in high school, that we're different and we're not like everybody else, and we're complex. And how do we troubleshoot these behavior patterns? How do we get out of ourselves? Adler talked about a lot of these. He named it, and there are self-limitations to being an incel and having an inferiority complex. And the trouble and the harm it does, and the harm you can do to other people around you. And so we'll look at Adler today. I think we can look at Adler, and we can look at Jung too. Jung was a psychologist, and he was not also a philosopher, but he was a psychologist like Freud. And Freud and Jung and Adler were kind of the three basic philosopher, psychologist, or psychoanalyst. I think they would call themselves more psychoanalyst at that time, because it's sort of a groovy kind of word. I think Freud would rather call. And Freud, Jung, and Adler moved beyond Freud. Jung had problems with it, and Adler had problems with the over-sexualization Freud's mind, but Freud came up with a few things that were still stick with a lot of people today, so we won't totally disregard them. So I do think one of the first things we look at with incels is they do have an inferiority complex, feelings, inferiority feelings of being inferior. We all get those feelings, like I said. During high school, God, do you guys remember high school? High school was horrible. It was horrible to be especially a boy child in high school, where you weren't, where you felt you just felt like you're chained down. There were some chains on you, and you wanted your freedom. And most men, nothing compares to that feeling of freedom when you're running. You get that feeling of freedom when you're moving. When I'm riding my bike, I get that fear, that feeling of freedom in myself. Skydiving or climbing a mountain or fishing. Stuff like that. Men do that all the time, but when you're in school, no, you don't have those. You don't have the feeling of freedom. You have the feeling of opposite on that. I think the opposite of freedom is you're enslaved to this thing. But that's neither here nor there with the complex that we're talking about, the inferiority complex, inferiority complex, or the feelings of being inferior. When we talk about the levels of incel, I keep doing that Freudian slip when I say the levels of MGTOW. This is the levels of incel, because I'm just fascinated with them now, and I'm going to talk about them, and I'm going to talk about them in an honest light, like I did yesterday, where they are a disadvantaged group, and we shouldn't be picking on them. And are they the next disadvantaged group? We have how many disadvantaged groups out there? We have a lot of disadvantaged groups out there, but as for incels go, yeah, they're going to experience a lot of problems in life just because of what they're experiencing now. People hate them. People reject them, and for their physical appearance or their even their philosophies or the way they look at life. And there's probably a lot of problems that spring up from those things in themselves. And we'll cover what we can, but we can't cover all that stuff because, God, there's so many threads probably to this thing. And so as you notice, my curiosity into the MGTOW, into the incel, the Freudian slip again. Yeah, my curiosity sort of makes me the incel whisperer. So maybe I should change my name from Joe the, let me get back on the page that I was on so I can see who's in the respective chat and everything. And read some of this stuff. And if you got any thoughts on this, what level 1, that's where we're at right now. We know level 0. We know level 0 is not knowing that you're an incel, but feeling something's different. Something's wrong with the universe. So level 1 would be coming to the idea that an incel, if you were an incel, coming to the idea that you were different than the rest of the people and deciding to do something about it. And that's why groups exist, because I don't think people hate incels. I think they hate themselves. There's an inferiority complex. And with them, we can see that come out in a lot of the guys that some of them think they're a lot more homely than they are. Some of them think they have no chance at all with women. Some of them think they have no chance at all in life. Some of them kind of consider themselves the janitors or the maintenance men because they feel that's all they can achieve in life. I'll just be the janitor, and then I'll just keep my head down. And that inferiority complex can do a lot of things. We see people walking every day. I used to talk about this a lot, but I can't ring the about people that walk with their heads down in life, and they walk and they're looking down when they're walking. You see them walking on the sidewalks around, and their heads are down, and they're sad or they just don't feel confident. like me or you do, like a MGTOW would, to hold your head up and say, hey, I'm here, I'm MGTOW. And that's it. I have the courage to be MGTOW. I have the courage to be disliked. I have the courage to say these things. But I think it all starts level one. You realize level one incel would be, you realize something's wrong. And you got to fix it, and you're on a program now. And like Shingles mentioned earlier, what would that program be? Well, there's no defined program for this stuff. A matter of fact, the world would rather not talk about it. And that bothers me, being as curious I am. I'm the incel whisperer. So it bothers me. And if anybody wants to come in on this thing, this is just going to be a Saturday. It's going to be a Saturday, you know, just we're just chatting, because I didn't do no research on this, and I just thought I'd wing it. RP I said, RFP said levels of incel, and I said, what? Levels of incel. And then it started ringing true that there should be levels of incel, and we got to get this ball rolling. We got to get them talking about this, because every step to happy, healthy life begins with one thing. It begins with that first step forward on everything, every job. We talk about this in MGTOW. We look out upon this world, and we're the guys that hold up the world. You know, we're the, how did I do that? Like that on that moon. You know, we're holding up the moon. We're holding up the world. That's sort of our fate. We are Sisyphus rolling that rock up. We are Atlas holding the world on our back. And without us, nothing changes and nothing gets better. So we might as well just accept that absurd position that you're going to have in life. And you are it. You have to be the driving force in this world as a man. And sometimes that's pretty hard. And sometimes I look at incels and I think, no, they don't do these things. They're not the driving force within their own, not even within their own psyche, within their own skin. They let people influence them, and they let people bring them down. So that's a good question, I think, to ask. Level one, we refuse to let people bring us down about our physical appearance and our nature as human beings. You know, their birthright. This was a birth thing. This was the lottery of birth. You know, I can't help what I am, sort of thing. So levels one of MGTOW would be acceptance. I accept that I'm a MGTOW. So you got 0, which I don't know that I'm in an incel. Level 1 would be probably I accept that I'm an incel and I choose to do something about it. I would think that would be a very good program. What is level 1? And it's even hard to tell what level 1 in a lot of things are. Step programs are so confusing sometimes. You know, most of them, you take on a higher power greater than yourself, and you put your life into the hands of something you've never seen before. We're not all about that in MGTOW. Hello, Garchamp. Incels are not broken or bad. They're just priced out of the P market by welfare and sexual availability. Yeah, we know that there's we know that there's you know, this the SMV, the sexual marketplace, is terrible on incels, and they have to compete with Chad and I don't think Chad and Tyrone's interested in any women below 6-ish, you know, 6s, but my cure for this whole thing would be incels get together with femcels, and femcels are feminist. The feminists and the incels would make a very, very good couple. Of course, they're diametrically opposed, and, you know, opposites attract. You know, opposites attract. Femcels and incels should get together, and that's my theory on that. But hey, maybe that would be level 4, because we're thinking about this, and I would tend to err on the side of a MGTOW or a PUA sort of view, or an MRA sort of view. But incels are totally the opposite of us. They want to have a traditional relationship. They want to get into the world. They want to have all the experiences that that normal guys have, like me or you, Orange Partisan. We all have had our share, our fill. A matter of fact, we've had our fill with. I'm all filled up on that. Don't want no more of it. I don't want no more experiences with women. But incels are the exact opposite of us. So the goal is to experience the female in all of her fullness and harsh beauty and and absurdity. So level one would be, you know, every step begins with acceptance. I've accepted. You know, maybe I should write these things down as we go. And let me take this post and put it in. So if anybody wants to come in and just talk with me, and this is not a very this, I'll put it in Hangout Gate and the Hangout areas, and people can come in and hang out if they want and talk about this and help me through it. Oh, yeah. Who else would I want to invite? I don't know who I'm going to invite in. But we'll leave it right there. And if they want to share that hangout with somebody else, they can come in and we could talk about this thing, because I'm kind of lost on it. It's all new to me, and it's new to me, but I think I have a certain insight to the incels. I'm the incel whisperer. I know I'm so patronizing. I'm the incel whisperer, so I'm the guy that's going to have to figure this out. And the real issue with incels is a longing for female companionship. If the one thing that will cure them, they need to, just like everybody else, need to transcend themselves and their own mortality. Yeah, that's a good. That's a philosophical view. That's something like I would say. You know, you got to transcend yourself. A monk. So I think monk. We can all agree that the monk incel would be the last and final stage, like in everything in human. If you wanted to transcend humanality and transcendental humanality, the monk is always the epitome stage of that. If I wanted to be a monk Christian, say, I would go to I would go to one of those places where friars and they make beer and they're like hang out and they do groovy things like pray all day and all that stuff. And, you know, you could be a monk Jew, you could be a monk Christian, you could be a monk Buddhist, a Buddhist monk. That's just cool. You can, you know, there's religions, Hinduism and Buddhism that revolve around people that have achieved the monk. So I think it's obvious that we already have 0, 1, and 5 with that. Now 0 would be, I don't know that I'm an incel, and them are the infuriating ones. They just don't know, and they're like they're just trying to be normal because they've never done an introspection in their lives. So 1 would be acceptance, coming to accept that they are an incel, and what can we do, and to choose to. I think 2 would be something like I choose as an incel to change my life, to transcend what the birth or the genetic lottery has subjected me to, because all men want that. All men want to fight against. They want to fight against our humanities, our downfalls, our pitfalls, the things that they say we can't do. You can't climb a mountain, Joe. Oh yeah? Are you sure about that? because don't get me focused on it, because I will. That's what we do. Don't get me focused. They say, Joe, you can't change the world. Oh yeah? Really? Really? You're telling me that? you know, that's the way men we are, the kind of men we are. You can't be a football player, Joe. Yeah, I can. I can do anything I want in this world, because we have that masculine power, and we're comfortable. At least MGTOWs do, I think. MGTOWs are comfortable with that masculine power. I mean, someone tells us we can't do something, we go, oh yeah, shit. Yeah, yeah. You want to make a bet on that? How would you classify the incel? Yeah, classification of incel. I think one takes care of that. You just got to accept. The incel's just got to accept that he's an incel and say, my life, I wasn't born. I didn't hit on the 10 on the genetic lottery. I hit on the 2 on the genetic lottery. And once they accept that, they can say, I'm an incel. I'm an incel and I can do something about this. And that would be step 1 or 2. Two would be to do something about something, to make a difference, to become comfortable with your incelness. So we have 0, we have 1, we have 2, and we have 5. The monk makedown. Now this is when it gets interesting. We have 2 more steps to get to becoming a monk incel. Or do you need to get do you necessarily need to get to that monk incel, or can you choose like 3, 4, or 5? Are 3, 4, and 5 going to be a destination rather than a something you're looking to get to the top level? You could choose a 3 level or a 4 level, inch by inch. Yeah, inch by inch. That's what I would ask myself: is 3, 4, or 5 a destination? Like MGTOW, the monk. My destination would be to become as with oneness with the world that I can, to transcend all this absurdity, to transcend all this chaos, to transcend all that and put it behind me, and not live in the past, live in the present, and not live in the future, but live within a good mind frame where I always consider the things that I do now can lead to better things in the past. And that's how I think about my past, or my future, not my past. Sorry about that. When I think about my future, I always think about what I'm doing right now, because the things that I do right now will affect my future. And I know that. So I put in building blocks. I take that first step forward as a MGTOW, and that seems to work out so far in life for me. I'm old. I'm not a failure, but I'm not a billionaire, and I'm not a millionaire either. But I'm not a total failure, and life's growing short on me and everything. But I think if I look back on the years that I've been on this planet, I could say, well, the biggest changes in my life came when I stopped being so grandiose about the future. What's going to happen? I stopped wanting to be an astronaut. I stopped wanting to be a police officer. I stopped wanting to be, things that were unobtainable, or the president of the United States. God, I would make a great president. I look like Ulysses S. Grant. I'd be like my face on a dollar bill. That would be so beautiful. My pretty face on a dollar bill. I don't know what side. Yeah, I could be like. Hello, swine dog. If you're living your life you want to live, you are a success. Yeah, that's good affirmation. I like that one. If you're living your life you want to live, and you are a success. Yeah. So we're talking about incels. We're talking about the steps of incels now. I know it's crazy, but it brings up a lot about ourselves and how we can improve ourselves too. If it can work for an incel, gosh, I bet it can work for anybody, any man. You think you got my vote for president? Yeah. I'd like to be president. That would be great. I don't think I qualify as I don't know if I'm qualified or overqualified, but I've got some stuff in my past. That's funny. So incel step 2, 1, admit you are an incel, and once they admit that they are, and that could be a good thing. But I think we still have to deal with the complex problems, like Adler, like I was talking about Adler and Jung. There's the rat boy in them. We all know that. There's the inferiority complex. I'm learning how to say that. They'll have shortcomings, and they have to. And what we talked about yesterday, we talked about in the big in the big world of justice, and we start looking at justice, incel would be considered a disadvantaged group. So what programs could we get for incels? And if they really want, and I've seen sort of this question come up in Congress, and I've seen this like, what can we do for men that are disadvantaged in this way? Because we don't have really any programs for disadvantaged males. And the incel would be a disadvantaged male. He can't do this. He gets he doesn't get positive feedback from his looks. He can't be a salesman or because he just turns people off. So all he's really got is what's inside of him, that positive feeling that he can, through self-training, this positive feeling he can achieve through self-training, and he can evolve into a behavior or I know some incels in life, and I know that was exactly what made them into like normal guys, and that's evolving into a behavior that's positive rather than negative. And that would be a good start to. But what would, now I never really answered the question. What would be the destination on this thing? And I can't read all the comments as I'm going because I've never been able to do that. I'm sorry. So I'm sorry about that. But I did put if anybody wants the link and you want to talk about this with me, feel free to come on in. The society is projecting female problems on men since when men had a problem with looks and money, men's labor is what keeps society running. Yeah, they need men, and we all understand that. I think that there's an argument for that to technology and everything. The women feel that they can get along without us. They need, like Jessica Valente says, women need men like a fish need a bicycle. Yeah, but we do keep society running because them are the special traits we have. Everybody has orange pride stuff in their past. Most problems involve women. Yeah, most problems involve women when you have things in your closet, I suppose. So the problem of incel right now would be to have a destination that's obtainable. But what we find with the complex of the inferior complex, what Jung would say, the unconscious, they do this unconscious without knowing. They're obsessed with the unconscious about themselves. So striving for this superiority as a male, and it could result in that. We've seen that with Elliot Rodgers. I think he had this superiority complex, and none of the, even though he was like, the girls betray me. It's this cognitive dissonance thing too. The girls betray me; they always leave me, but I'm better than them. That's a hard one to deal with. I'm trying to read as I go here about what Adler would say about the inferiority complex and getting over it. And Adler, I wanted to state that we'll do a little history so you know. Adler himself was and I was listening to Portuguese MGTOW earlier today, and they were talking to a young man about child raising and what he wanted to do with his son, whether nature or nurture, and that all gets so boring to me. And I was going to put down, I don't think they would understand. When I looked at that problem, I was looking at Adler. And Adler was born with no math. He was born stupid. Through his first 8 or 9 years in life, he was an underachiever. He underachieved. He was physically scrawny, like an incel. And that's why I bring Adler up, because he was like an incel. Adler solved this problem within himself between the tender years of in somewhere in college. He was probably still considered a homely man, or a man that wasn't quite up to par. But Adler himself, if you're going to look at some kind of hero to the incels, Adler himself had these problems. He had trouble with mathematics. He had trouble with his test scores. He didn't do very good in school. He was scrawny. He was unattractive. He was said to be one of the clumsiest persons ever alive. So he had to bust through these things. And maybe in the future here, since I am the incel whisperer, I love that. I'll take that. I'll own that. I'm the incel whisperer. So Adler often looks at people that overwhelm. Like one of the examples he gives was Wilma Rudolph had polio and was crippled as a child, but she became an Olympic gold medal winning sprinter. O.J. Simpson, which had rickets. OJ, did you know that O.J. Simpson had rickets as he was a child, and he was able to achieve football greatness as a running back? And that's not an easy thing, from rickets to that. So he talks often about people that were born, like I was talking about yesterday with the lottery of life, and these disadvantaged groups of the lottery of life. So I think Adler knows a lot about overcoming disadvantages and overcoming disabilities and everything. And then he goes into style of life, what you believe you are, what your personality is formed on. You generally you form your personality at a very young age, and there's certain patterns that come up in this thing. And if you are an incel, then those patterns are going to be formed of inferiority. Lifestyle choices are going to be of an inferior child. You're not going to play baseball. You don't think you can compete. You're not going to play sports. You're not going to involve yourself in the chess matches because you don't think you're intellectually as good as other people. You're not going to, hang around the girls and try to at least score once in a while, even though that's probably the best thing they can do. Developing a positive lifestyle is hard for them when you at the tender years of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, your personality had already formed around that inferiority. That I am not a good person. People hate me. People don't love me like they love beautiful Jim. Beautiful Jim, the perfect blonde-haired, blue-eyed kid. I wasn't born into that slot with Jim's parents have money. He's a good-looking kid. His life's going to be so great. But the incel is the opposite of that. He was born disadvantaged at it. I'm bad, something bad. Nobody should have to go through that. Nobody. And that's why I ask these questions now in my old age. Lifestyle, becoming a positive lifestyle, becoming a good-natured person, I think could be helpful. You become a good-natured people. People generally like you if you're good-natured and you're not a casually cruel people. But with a lot of the incels that I see, I went back, and if I have to digress back to what Adler was talking about, how the complex makes them into these casually cruel people instead of good-natured people, and that's a good lesson for MGTOWs too. Let's stop with that. So a good lesson for MGTOW, and I had to go through this, and especially online where it's so easy to become casually cruel about everything. Becoming a good-natured person, where people would generally, it helps out in life, and I explain this in a lot of different ways. It helps out in life, like when I go to the chicken store, and the the girls are back there, and hi Joe, and they got the chicken, and I just try to be happy and smile and tell them what a great job you guys do, a great job. This is the best chicken in the whole world, because in my life that's the only chicken shop around here, and I have to tell them that's the best, because that's the best chicken in the whole world that I can get. That's that subsets I was talking about. So if that's the best chicken in the whole world I can get, that's what I can get in life. I can't go, there's no other chicken place around here within miles and miles and miles and miles, and that's the best chicken I get. So when I go up there, obviously I'm not going to try to put a wrench in that thing. I want it to be, I want them actually to try to make good chicken. So positive affirmations in those cases, which I talk about a lot. You give someone a positive affirmation. You're a nice person. You tell them how much you appreciate them being there for you and doing this job and everything. And once in a while, I open up my box of chicken, and there's an extra couple tenders in there, or there's some extra in there, or some little treat in there. And I was like, thanks a lot, girls. See you next week, or see you in a couple more days when I want to go get some chicken. So there's a payoff at the end of that thing. And that's the way life is. There's always a payoff at the end of just being a nice person. There's an end, not being casually cruel about everything. In itself, that pays off in itself, and that is the payoff. And I had that said to me once, that I had to back way back then. Joe, you get back what you give out. If you're a dick, then people are going to treat you like a dick, and if you have a lifestyle that's positive, and you positively influence, like a monk, we positively influence our things there everywhere we go. We're good natured. So if you're a good natured people, you're going to get good nature. If you're good natured and you're helpful, you'll get good nature and helpfulness back. Now, I don't know about that second part, helpfulness. Sometimes people tend to and I noticed this in my life, they tend to misuse people that are helpful, like men. Men are helpful. We do things. We fix things. You don't want to become the fixer to the world. You don't want to be helpful Joe that does everything, and nobody ever considers being helpful too. You want to hold those things back, because those are the things that are going to give you probably some kind of monetary relief in this life. If you give out everything for free, one of the business lessons that you'll have to learn in life is don't undervalue yourself. Charge correct prices, put those X prices, and don't give out nothing free. Social situations are going to call for this. You have to consider yourself like a MGTOW would consider himself. You're going to need that social reinforcement at some time of being good natured, but you're not going to, as for being helpful, you can be helpful and try to, just in a general sort of helpful, I'll help you pick up that bag and everything, that's okay, old lady, I'll just pick up that bag for you. And that's the way you present yourself and everything, because them things have payoffs in the end. Next time she needs her plumbing fixed, who's she going to think about? She's going to think about you, and then you get that job over the local contractor, and then that's a couple $100 in your pocket. So we got level 3. I think level 3 is just becoming a good-natured, comfortable person in your life, where you're good-natured and you're helpful, because that's one of the things that could. So we're filling this out very well. 0 is I don't know, I'm an incel. 1 is acceptance in the MGTOW, the levels of MGTOW. 2 would be choosing to do something about that. 3 would be I accept this totally, to the point where I'm good natured and helpful around me. I'm learning to work within the world with this disability, and use it as an advantage rather than as a disadvantage, not being so casually cruel. Not displaying that inferiority complex all the time, and and don't be such a spoiled child, and don't try to manipulate people. Don't try, because that's generally, I think there's a general thing that if you are an incel, if you try to get something off on somebody and you get caught, the punishment is generally going to be worse for an incel male than it's going to be for anybody else. First, physical punishment of trying to get something to somebody off. I've seen this in life so many times myself. When one of the not so sharper guys in the group tried to get something off on the rest of the group, and he got pummeled. I'm sorry, but that happens in man world. In man world, when the not so sharpest guy in the toolbox, or the not so sharpest tool in the toolbox, tries to get something off on the other tools, he gets pummeled. And that's just the way it is in man world. It's a competitional world. So yeah, don't be a brown noser. Nobody likes a brown noser. Nobody likes a kiss asser. It's a very good point, Tara. Nobody likes a kiss ass. Nobody likes a suck up. They make movies about those kind of people. Who is that guy? I can't remember his name. He was the best brown noser. I can't remember his name. I was trying to think of a movie. They make movies and they write books about those kind of people as the villain or the anti-hero. They're just these brown nosers and these suck ups and these worthless people that everybody knows they exist, and you can't quite figure out what to do with them, but they're there and everybody wants to ignore them. So level 3 would be, comfort, a sort of comfort in your style of living where you're happy and healthy, and you're healthy. Steve Hoka runs. Steve Hoka, grew a big beard at one point and he didn't keep it. I was so disappointed about that. It's like, Steve, don't shave the beautiful beard. You got a baker beard. The baker beard is beautiful. You can, small families could live in that thing that he had. There's housing in there and stuff. Steve did have a wonderful, wonderful beard, but he never showed it off. He was like, look at this. I'm an incel. I got this thing on my face. Look at it. So he could have grown that long, and that could have been his thing, that thing that sets bam, that's my thing in the world, this beard. I don't have a great beard. I don't know about that. I don't have one of those baker beards. They're totally black and full, and they're just puffy, and it's like down to here. It grows out to here in like 3 weeks. It's just poof. Baker Mayfield I'm talking about. He gets a baker beard. And yeah, Baker Mayfield, the ultimate, he's the ultimate alpha. He can grow his beard in 3 weeks. He's a good-looking kid. He's got great-looking girlfriend. He's the football star. Everywhere he goes, he emanates like positive, positive energy, and he emanates like winning. That guy's a winner. That thing that I talk about. How do you get that thing if you're an incel? Well, you're going to have to work on that thing. If you're an incel, you're going to have to work on that. So the levels of incel would have to include a bit of work. Let's see who's all in. We got 15 people watching. Maybe Aaron, Taryn, the usual crowd, the usual suspects are in. I was trying to get somebody in so we can kind of flip this around flippantly, and it's make it at least funny as we're doing it. But nobody seems to want to come in today, buddy boy. So what would Adler do? Adler was a good example of how to work out of that. If they read, any text by I think incorporating reading into your life, or at least go watch listen to audio books. The incel can become an intellectual giant. I don't think that there's nothing holding an incel back from becoming an intellectual giant. That's one of the things from Bill Gravehouse to Steve Hoka to all the incels and the TFLers. they're not being inhibited in their life. That's not a defect. Their brains are normal brains. They can do whatever they want with that. They can become Bill Gates if they wanted. They could become the smartest guy in the world if they wanted to. So that's one positive thing that we can see that they can do, and a lot of them do. The geek, what is the geek? Is the geek what made the geeks? The geeks. Geekism. That's an incel thing. Is there such thing as how to become a good geek? We see these movies and everything. What is that? When the two geek kids are living together, and my buddy watches it all the time, but I can never remember the name of it, and it's a very popular program. They have Sheldon, and there's the thing that came off of the young Sheldon, and that guy, the two geeks making the best of their incelness and trying to be positive in a world that generally doesn't like them. So that sounds a lot like incel, doesn't it? It's not a new problem. Just lately and I do think that it's probably since 2004, maybe, the oversaturation of sex in the market has made the incel problem worse, because the expectation of sex became or you can't turn that switch off in a man, and incels are men. They turn that switch on, and then they go out there to try to achieve the ultimate act of reproduction, and then they find out they can't, and and then they get saturated daily. I don't know if there's a day when I open up. There might be, because I'm very cautious about what I open up on this thing. That I don't get some kind of sexually oriented stuff just angled at me by Google. It's like, stop it, Google. If incels become professionally successful, they are no longer incels. Right. That's great, Garchamp. If incels become intellectually professional or successful, they're no longer incels. We see this with the king of the incels. That would be the guy from Apple. What was his name? He's the king of he wasn't a looker. He maybe a 6 on the level of lookers, but he's rich, and he's intellectually Steve Jobs, and even Bill Gates. They're neither one of them are anything but normal guys. They're just normal guys, maybe 6 7s, and on the Chad meter, there's 6 7s. Wozniacki. He was no looker. He was and he's a billionaire now too. I was checking on Wozniacki, and the other guy. They're all billionaires. And money would relieve some of the. Money would relieve some of the. I mean, yeah. I mean, it wouldn't relieve that inferiority complex, inferiority complex, or the self-knowledge that you are less, somehow left, would always be there. But when I look at that, that's what Adler was looking at, and then sometimes that's the driving force behind these guys too. There's something called. I wanted to look this up someday. It's a theory based upon on children that don't have parents, and they're what do you call those? They don't have parents, so they know it's 18 and out. When they hit 18, they better be ready to live in this world. So they overachieve, and they become overachievers since they don't know. That's the same thing with incels. They become overachievers in those senses. And I think we see that in the geeks. The geeks know that it's 18 and out, and there's a certain thing that's not going to happen in life for them. So they try to overachieve in that stuff. And that's a good thing. That's making lemonade out of lemons. Go boy. Self-respect and is imperative for peace of mind. Yes, it is. MGTOW thread. Self-respect is imperative for peace of mind. Self-confidence, self-respect, and that's what we talk. Self-respect. You respect yourself as a person. There's a lot of thought that goes into self-respect. What is respect? I respect myself, but that would mean I don't do things. I don't put myself in positions. I have enough self-respect not to, say I don't visit prostitutes. I don't hang around with drug dealers. I don't do those things. I'm above that. I have a certain respect for my all this, all this. Oh, this beauty. Yeah. Have self-respect. I love doing that. I just do. I just think that's the Wookiee lives mattered. Hella looking. I knew the school system was bullshit before the grades. Oh, yeah. Yeah, the school system is not going to help you through a lot of things in life. Wookiee lives matter with all the disgusting tramps out there. Oops. I'm really surprised they don't find these interns and turn them into pets. Now we see that we see the simp boys or the ones they have the what would call that, the slavery quality, the subservient quality, and they want to be. They know that if they're subservient to their female masters, and would that be an indicator of incel? I often wondered that in MGTOW. Is it, if you're that slave, you're that simp, you're subservient to the master female god because she got the V, and that's all you want in your life. Yeah, that's a good point. Wookiee lives matter. It's good to see you. And they turn them into pets. They make. I bet incels would make great pets. Female nature is to direct up the ladder. Don't want to be seen by that, or not the man. It's not the man. Yeah. A few hypergamy would have a lot to do with hypergamy has a lot to do with female nature. Yeah, but that's a different topic. I think hypergamy, gynocentrism, they err on the side of the woman. Hypergamy, to the hypergamy ladder. That's one of the things I never really delved into in MGTOW, the metaphysics of the hypergamy ladder. It's like. But I think MGTOW has to answer these questions sooner or later. I think someone's going to have to delve into it and really reach down there and just swish it around in their mouth a little and, get all up in there. The hypergamy ladder. Yeah. Pussy, P, we'll say P isn't hard to get seriously. Yeah, it's not hard to get seriously. I mean, there's not a week that goes by that I don't get hit on twice by at least most of these old ladies around here. They're like, come on over, Joe. I'll give you a gummer. It's like disgusting. Once you get my age, like there's no women out there that age that I want to actually be around. Oh dear, yeah. But even for kids nowadays, if you're a normal guy, then it's just really not that kind of validation is not hard to come by. But for an incel, that's an incel. We're talking about incels. But that's what I say. Incels should get with the femcells, and the femcells and the incels get together, and they have like. I would wonder, because there are a lot of cases where two genetically malformed people like autism or just Down syndrome have a baby together and they have a normal child. There's a possibility with sexual diversity, and that would be sometimes health and diversity, sexual diversity have nothing. They're off the field to each other. The genetic material within the two, they can get together, and if chances are they'll have a perfectly normal baby. I think the eugenics people would argue with me about that, or like, you guys are passing on that horrible gene. But that's eugenics. Did you guys know that eugenics was created by feminism back in 18 blah blah blah? And I can't, don't hold me to the lady's name. She was a feminist in the Reconstruction period, before the suffragettes, that she argued for eugenics and birth control. She was one of the first. If you look up birth control, first birth control people, Reconstruction period, they'll give her name. Them are the keywords. It was the person. Yeah. Feminism was argued for eugenics when it was back as during those periods of time. And I don't think they'll disagree with me about saying that, but feminism did argue for eugenics at a certain part. Like well, they do it in their lives too. Feminism believes in birth control, and birth control is a form of eugenics. I'll decide what children will come in this world, and if that man wasn't most of the decision, I think, in a female's life, if they had an accident, unwanted pregnancy, and they look at the male and they see that what the male is, and if he's less than the image in their mind, and we talked about the image in the mind of people, if it's Freud's breasts, every man and women are the same. They got an image of Freud's breasts. Every man has an image of the perfect breast into his mind, and whatever he sees out in that world, they never measure up to it. And I think that's more where hypergamy comes in. Every woman has an ideal man's chest in their head, or penis, or whatever they think about. Like men think about breasts, women think about, and that's where Freud was actually 100% right. Every person has this ideal thing built into their head, and no other person, when that person comes around, no person can measure up to the perfect person inside of your brain. Yeah, beauty and intelligence. Wookiee lives matter. That's what beauty and intelligence are related in that sense, because beauty is the mind looking at the mind, and there's other things where when we look at that concept of the mind looking at the mind and asking the mind what it likes, that concept goes way deep with you start reading when you start reading about the metaphysics of the metaphysical club, and that beauty and the mind looking at the mind, and those are the questions. And Kierkegaard, and what was it, or not Kierkegaard, Descartes, or whatever, however you pronounce it. He was talking about the mind talking to the mind, and the portions of the mind and the unconscious mind, and those things. And they're also groovy to go listen to that. I started listening to I was doing another course, and it was Brantham's 27 chapter course on the mind, and I kind of stalled right around as I did. I stalled on I think Marcus the Metaphysical said he tried to do that one and he stalled too. It was just like, it's like, once I got to like chapter 14, it was like I got to chapter 14 and I stalled. But I think I'll regain some wind for it and finish the course. And I don't know what good it'll do. I'll get another piece of paper, put it over it. I'm taking 2 courses now in my old age, just fun courses like that. But Descartes, I know Wiki lives matter. I don't know how they want me to pronounce that, and I'm gonna have to look it up and find out the Descartes. Descartes. I'll look up the actual how he would want it pronounced. Like I say, Nietzsche. I say Nietzsche a lot, and the way Nietzsche would want it would pronounce it. And I find it hard to pronounce this as Nietzsche, because he was from the Duchy side of that region, so that's how it would have been pronounced. I know. And Camus, I did find out that Camus and Camus, I say Camus, and I found out that that's altogether wrong, and everybody's got it wrong after doing the research. In Albania, they would pronounce it Samus. So it's an SAM. K would be inverted to C, like in a lot of languages, and it would be Samos. So the intellectual community actually got that one wrong, and I wanted to go tell them about that, but they had to argue with me. Descartes. Yeah, Descartes. Descartes, yeah. Descartes' interesting. I think, therefore I am. Now that's an interesting question. We developed those questions, and he went way, way long way. Now, if you do Brantham's course, that starts Brantham, Russell Brantham, I think his name is. I can't remember. Yeah, if you do his course, and he was a great philosopher in himself, but he does objectivism, and I don't do objectivism. I just hate it. Utilitarianism and objectivism. That's how you get forward in this world. Just stomp the piss out of everybody you meet. And I don't think that, I think it works, but it's not the kind of person I want to be. Descartes. I'm going to have to practice that. Like I'm trying to learn today, inferiority, because I can't say it. It's one of the words that I can't say in life. Inferiority complex. Damn, I'm disabled in that way. I've got a speech impediment where I can't say certain words. It's living in Ohio. I had to go through that period of time. I don't know if anybody knows about Upper Ohio State and everything. And the period when I was growing up, we had to go through Ebonics, and we had to go through courses in our youth. It was usually 8th, 7th, 8th grade and everything that we talked about speech, and we talked about how we talk here in Ohio and what we accept in Ohio. And I can't remember what that course was called. It was, and we talked a lot about dialects, different dialects, and how things would be said and how we should approach those things. And it was a weird course. It really was. Now, I don't know if they do that anymore in school, because that would be considered racist. So it's not PC correct to talk about other people's dialects, and we should just accept them. Now, we just had a thing about that in Cleveland, and I didn't notice it until after it had happened. Freddie Kitchens, the new coach for the Cleveland Browns, someone had said, Freddie, do you feel that you are being held back because of your Southern dialect? And Freddie says, yeah, I felt that I was being held, but Jimmy Haslam and D are the PC people of they're the social justice warriors of the NFL now. So they hired this guy with a Southern dialect, even though he sounds a little goofy and he says, no, that's not true. We're just being biased and bigot in that thing. And so dialect, it's the Southern dialect, the bigotry of having a Southern dialect. That's one of the new things now. I'd have to dig into that. I get a S load more money now. Okay, that's not a. I think Ebonics is Main Street Smart Cryptography. Yeah. Ebonics was interesting. I had to learn that when it first came up in the 70s. I think we were talking about Ebonics in the mid 70s, and we had to go through that course, and it was interesting. A lot of most of the white kids, they just laughed about it, and but I wanted to know about it because I am a linguist, and I like the human language. I think we could do more with the human language than we've done with it. Start thinking about some of the complex problems of articulating the way we see the universe. Country, I meant. Okay, just like UK, every country has a different. Yeah. In the UK, they have. Oh man, I think Messenger and Shining used to talk about the dialects, the different, even from town to town. You could have the Southie, and then there was one they always talked about. That was the oh God, what was it called? And you listen to Shining, and Shining is very properly spoken, and Messenger was from the northern part, and there was a different dialect in his English, and that gets really really interesting. I wonder if they got a book. I'm gonna have to read it now. You guys are gonna do that to me. They're gonna make me read another book this week about English dialect. Country, yeah. Oh man, yeah. So we're just kind of talking today. I'm just kind of I was gonna watch The Tick. Tick season 2 is out, and I love The Tick. So I was gonna get into it, but I didn't really feel like it. I didn't have the feel for The Tick right now. I was like, man, you got to be like happy, and you got to be to watch The Tick. You got to be. So I wasn't feeling it. So I was going to watch that and kind of binge maybe 6 episodes of The Tick, the new season. But I'm going to hold that off until maybe it's because I don't have no soda pop here or something. I don't know. The Tick, fuck yeah. I love The Tick. The Tick is, he's groovy. He's hilarious, isn't he? The whole thing about him, everything about the guy is just great, and it's good that that kind of superhero exists, and he's kind of that. If you took a goofy, oofy doofy dad and you gave him a super body and put him in a big blue suit, and he was like, golly gee, it's like that's what The Tick is. They got the perfect character in the new Amazon Prime Tick. He's just great. So I was going to watch him, and Animal Kingdom's coming out again soon. I've been waiting I think it's going to be on the 24th this year. That starts. Animal Kingdom's going to be out, and there's going to be a lot of new stuff coming, and I was just kind of finishing up with all the old stuff. But I was so glad to see the other day that they dropped The Tick, and I was like, yeah, nice. I love that guy. So we were talking. So where did we get? We were on 0 with the incels. 0 is not knowing that you're an incel. 1 was kind of coming to the acceptance that you are an incel. And 2 was embracing and started working forward step by step into developing a new personality or something that you can hinge on in life. And 3 would be destinations of your incelness. I think one destination for most incels is to get an LTR, get into an LTR with a female and that's where the PUA could come in and help. Get into a long-term relationship with a female that can make you feel good about yourself, and you can have that validation. You can go through that whole thing and have a life experience and all that stuff. So that's one destination, I think. I'm just trying to read. I'm trying to keep up with the comments today because I really didn't want to do this whole subject all the way through. I was hoping that you guys would give me some interesting topics to talk about, because I didn't do no research on this. I just kind of turned on the YouTube and said, hey, I'm going to speak. I don't understand the incels, and to be honest, I don't yeah. I think they're fascinating, and I think I could really help that group out, and I think I can, I'm the incel whisperer. And I think I can get them up to, really help the incels out. I think I can. So that's why I'm just fascinated with the whole incel movement and what happened. And I do think, like I was saying, I'll digress back to I think the incel movement is a product of the over-sexualization of our society. You can't it's sexualization and hyperdrive. You can't turn an incel on and tell them, hey, just go hit it out there and put it in drive and go mow through a bunch of women. And you can't. That's the college thing. You're going to go to college, you're going to get a shitload of women, you're going to get drunk, you're going to get all that shit out of your system, and then you're going to go to work. It's like, you can't tell an incel that, because he's not going to have these life experiences, and the life becomes a trap to them. And I think that's why they kind of tend to tend to want to be around MGTOWs because we say life is MGTOWs, like marriage is a trap. Everything you learned in this world is a lie. And I was doing a book this week, and it started off with that question, and I wanted to bring it to MGTOW, but I forgot which one I bought. I heard 4 or 5 books this month, and I got to go back on and look through them and see which one I was actually looking at. I was no Rico Suave, but yeah, when I was on, the Don Juan. I was no Don Juan when I was growing. I was just a decent looking guy, had a decent body, no Don Juan or anything. I was going to do a research about Camus, Samos, depending on where region of the world you're with. Samus, we'll call him Samus, Camus, was talking about one of his interesting, some of his more interesting work was about Don Juan and the Don Juan syndrome. And he was a Don Juan. He was a French guy that he was single. That's kind of what kind of pulls me to his kind of thinking. He was a single guy, and he has the Don Juan. He talks about it in a few of his books, and I got to kind of get in on that and dig in there, get up all in there someday. Maybe you'll have to go to Tijuana. Maybe they ought to go to Tijuana with a crap ton of money, rubbers, and yeah. I do think there was a portion in Steve Hoka's life after he did all the TFL thing, and Steve pushed like true force loneliness into the consciousness of the internet. And there was Steve at the beginning, Steve Hoka, and I'll give him that credit. There was Steve, and he was the spokesperson for true force loneliness. And Bill Gravehouse was like Bill Gravehouse was the spokesman for incel. Steve was the spokesman for TFL, and he did go to a South American country, and I was reading a manuscript that he had put out and talking about how things were different, and he was walking and sharing time at a mall with a beautiful woman he said he had met, and he was happy there for a while, and then he has to come back, here. But you always got to come back to what you are, unless you stay in a Caribbean country where you have a boatload of money. But that's the dream. You're living the dream then. Most of us just aren't never going to do that. I'd like to run off to a Caribbean country, go see my buddy Forrest and down there, and go see a bunch of the guys, just go down to a Caribbean country and live large. Oh yeah, no, not for me. I just can't imagine myself avoid the donkey show. Yes, avoid the donkey show. Is that a real thing anymore? I don't think I remember when I was young, Tijuana, you go to Tijuana and go see the donkey show. It's like every young man's dream was to go buy a pair of alligator boots in Tijuana. Yeah, experience freedom. Go to the Juarez and get shot at. I'm living in one right now, Traversable. Are you? Are you living the life, Aaron? Man, I wish I was living the life large. I'm living large because I am large. I'm fat ass, but I'm not living the life large in that aspect. But I wish I was living. I think if I'd never got married, and we talk about that, and I don't want to bring this thing down by talking about my marriage years, how they destroyed all my hopes and dreams. That shit scared me. Yeah, I'll bet you it did. Yeah. So we're just talking about levels. So we talked, what was the 3? 3 would have been The incels need to get into that long-term relationship after they do these other steps in their life. They realize what they are, work on themselves, or become intellectually or with money better. And then they can work on 3, get the long-term relationship and experience that. That doesn't seem like a hard prospect there to most of us. Maybe to an incel, that would be an overwhelming, wouldn't be overwhelming, but that would be a life pursuit. Uh, uh, since they are disadvantaged in the business world too, people aren't going to hire an ugly person. People aren't going to give ugly people raises, and like they generally tend to give beautiful people more money just to be around. You're beautiful. We'll keep it's like the newscaster. I don't know if I know any really really ugly newscasters, like incel casters. You see them on like the wannabe incel casters on YouTube, and they're making, they're doing the YouTube thing, and they're doing the news or something. You see a lot of them around the liberals. They got a lot of the I think Jeff Wardorf would qualify as an incel caster, or some of the ex-comics that couldn't make it on the comic beat, like Jimmy Dore, and Max Kaiser. Them guys, they're incels, and they're not. They sure don't look like Tucker Carlson or Papa Bear, or they don't look like them guys from NBC, or they don't look like George Wills even. So we do know that, since we talked about this yesterday, that incels are disadvantaged. So they're going to have to come up with quite a plan to get those kind of riches to go do this and work through this, how to get enough money and notoriety, or whatever the female is looking for in that sense, to fulfill 3. Now we have 4. We have level 4, because being monk would be level 5, like anything. I suppose it would be a total enlightenment in life, and that's the highest. That's the highest degree of anything you can achieve, is becoming one with the world and having total enlightenment. So we'll stick monk on the top of that. So monk would be the incel. Monk would be the top level. Not that it's the most desirable level. I mean, when we look at MGTOW, when we look at the MGTOW monk, the monk's not the most desirable level of MGTOW, but as for a standard in life, having total enlightenment would be a pretty good standard. And but there are, I think, 3 and 4, like incel, is a destination, rather, like I said, it's a destination rather than a level. So you got your 2, 0, 1, and 2 that kind of take care of the levels, and then and 3 and 4 is more of the destination. Get that, for incel, to get that V that you so want, So what would 4 be? 4, man, 4, the level of MGTOW 4. We got to fill that before this. We gotta fill that before this this podcast ends, or it'll be a fragmented podcast. It'd be like a fragmented sentence. So we have to come up with all 4 of the five of the levels, and then there's level 9, which is unobtainium. That's what we say about MGTOW. You got level 9 too, which is unobtainium. Scared, mentally scared. You can get PTSD from the donkey show. Yeah, don't do the donkey show. Fragments of reality. Oh my God. So we have to fill in a level 4 here. If anybody's got any ideas out there what level 4 incel would be, level 3 being to obtain that long-term relationship. Level 4 would be to, I don't know, would be sort of like the MGTOW, like, I don't know. My own imagination and dreams can give me PTSD too. We never talk about that, and most people don't talk about those things. MGTOW thread sometimes what we visualize in our imagination as men are horrible things. Sometimes we visualize things that we really shouldn't. You know, battle and war and a lot of things. There's a lot of things down into the inner consciousness of the male mind. Uh, that's quite it could give you PTSD if you go there too often. That's where I get my best drawing crimes from. Yeah, yeah, you could use that for inspiration too. That down deep in the dark male mind, in the sort of the mind nor a, where the detective, you're down there and it's like here in the dirty city. Here in the dirty city of Joe's mind, there's just ugly buildings half bent over and prostitutes hanging out and shit. And oh yeah, mind nor no Neor. Yeah, mind Neor. But that's artistic, and you get artistic ideas. I used to have this dream when I was a kid that I was pedaling my bike. I always like riding a bike, so sometimes my dreams involved me pedaling a bike, and I was pedaling my bike, and it was taking no effort, and I was pedaling for miles and miles by this river. It was a beautiful river and everything, and then I turned around, and there was some girl that waved at me, and she hated me, so I she was some fat girl selling fish. I don't know what that was about, but this was a repeating dream I used to have. There was a fat girl selling fish, and it was nasty looking. And I was like, no, 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 no. And I turned my bike around and I started riding into the city, and all the buildingscapes were slightly deformed, and they looked sort of like this building here, but like with big chunks out of them and shit. And they were slightly deformed. And I don't know what that was. In my mind, I was seeing that. And that's pretty disturbing. But all in all, I end up driving through these field of grains, and I was lightly off the air on my bike. And it was a good experience. It was like, I was thinking like, this is my inner consciousness of heaven, which is pretty weird. How many pancakes does it take to fill a doghouse? Oh, I don't know. How many pancakes does it take to fill a doghouse? God, that's a good question. I guess we're going to have to do that someday. Okay, gonna have to turn. Oh, you got to turn on the AC. MGTOW thread. I don't know where you're at. Oh, now you're in Atlanta, and the AC. Yeah, it's probably. I didn't look at the weather. It was 61 here today. It was beautiful. We went out to breakfast this morning, and the sun was shining. I bought a big pack of hot dogs for this day. And my buddy, he was like, I was feeling sick, and so we were gonna have a barbecue. And I bought the good hot dogs. The pack that's like $11. That's got the all beef wieners with the natural casings, the cons, and the good ones. Not the pack that you get from the shit section of the store. The ones that you get out of the deli. So I bought a whole pack of those, and I was gonna invite the guys over. We're gonna do a barbecue with some. I made coleslaw, because a lot of guys like the coleslaw. Here in Cleveland, we have the poor boy. The poor boy has French fries and coleslaw and barbecue sauce on that, and that's a pretty interesting hot dog there. But it was nice, and it's going to be hotter tomorrow. It's going to be like 67, I think they said, which is warm. And I'm going to ride my bike, even if it's raining. I'm going to get out there. I pedaled today in that light air, and that's what's great. I could have pedaled. I went for my bike ride this morning, being the weekend and stuff, and I pedaled up to the store, and I pedaled around the neighborhood, and I was just like, oh man. And that's the payoff to pedaling all through the winter. And this was the Armstrong what it was, Lance Armstrong lesson. When Lance Armstrong trained, he went to like northern cold areas to train where the wind, where everything was this. Yeah, you really got to work. We work those legs, you know. And then when he got into the French air, the lighter French air for those ones that he won, Lance, he would just tear it up. He would just tear it up. Po' boys are, yeah, po' boys are good. That's one of the, it's debatable whether the poor boy was invented in Cleveland or not, but we used to go and get a poor boy, and it was a Polish sausage at that time. You take the Polish sausage, and then it's like barbecue and French fries and coleslaw all on one, and you pour the barbecue sauce. But the best poor boys are from the people that have the best barbecue sauce. So you have to go to the barbecue, and they got to barbecue it too. You can't cheat on the poor boy. You got to put that poor boy on a grill for it to taste good. Poor boys are great. Yeah, every man knows that. You know, once in a while you go into the city and you get a poor boy from the vendor. It's like, give me a poor boy. I want one. You know, it's going to make you sick if it's from a hot dog vendor in the inner city, but you got to have one. They sell them down at the original poor boy place was down in the what we call the West Side Market. We have a West Side Market in Cleveland, and that's where all the vendors go. There's sort of a commercial vending thing where you can buy bulk beef and bulk chicken and bulk grains. Go-kart racing on a full side track. Oh, I love go-kart racing. I used to do that a lot, but at a certain point in my life, I stopped fitting in the go-karts. And big, you know, larger guys, it's a bummer because you need a bigger go-kart. Nobody, that was my last question. Last time we went go, I was like, don't you guys got a bigger go-kart? I'm gonna bust that little thing. And they didn't. My buddy Dave was always a big kid. He was like 370 at 17 years old and 6'8", and he never got to do a go-kart in his life. And I was like, oh, I'm so sad for you, Dave. But at least when I was 17, 16 years old, I was pretty slim. So I got to ride go-karts, and that was fun as fudge. It was fun as fudge to ride a go-kart. We had 2, 3 of them around. If you had to drive a little up in the town towards the airport in Cleveland, down Brook Park, and Brook Park had like 3 go-kart racing things. I was like, great. Man created what we want and need. Yes, we did. Mini F1s are real. Yeah. Some of the kids from the neighborhood back in the day, their fathers actually built them go-karts. I was so jealous. My father never built us a go-kart. He went out and bought one of those 3-wheel things, and that was our entertainment until Joey the asshole busted it. Yeah, I did. And so yeah, I did. Yeah, my other brothers hated me for that. And but yeah, I gotta make amends for that one of these days. But we had the 3-wheeler thing. 4-wheelers, the kids get to do 4-wheeling now, but that's like a death trap. But we had the Harley one. The Harley, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the old Harley tri-rod. It's off-roader. Those things were dangerous as fudge. They were. Sometimes you would try to turn, and it wouldn't turn. It would keep going straight. Because they had a little tire on the front. And it had the big boom tires on the back, which looked like it made it look really cool, but it wasn't very safe. It wasn't like the ones they have now. So we have to come up with a level 4 before this thing is over. Does anybody got any ideas what level 4 incel would be? Level 4 would probably be like you're the ultimate incel. You're willing. You've worked through this thing and and you're out doing your game. and you're just busting life out, and you're not running through women like a PUA would, but you're having some success, and you're the, I guess level 4 would be the incel bachelor. Would level 4 incel be the incel bachelor? I think that would be level 4. You're just, you got all the game going. You're comfortable in your skin. You've worked through the other levels. You're not looking for relationships. And, well, you're looking for relationships, but you're looking to bust through those and experience all the life you can. And so level 4 incel would be sort of being a blue pill male. Being inserting yourself back into the matrix would be level 4, and you just do the job. You're a regular guy. Everything's going. You get to be normal in life, and you're just busting through that stuff, and life's not stressful and normal, and you just, everything's normal. So that's level 4. So we fulfilled them all. We fulfilled all 5 levels of incel, and like I said, level 5 eventually would be total enlightenment with the world, and total enlightenment like the monk would, just being comfortable within your own skin, not worrying about the rest of the world and all that stuff. So we covered all 5 steps of MGTOW. Let's go over them again real quickly if I can remember. Incels transcend to MGTOWs in some point. Yeah, now we're going to have another set, maybe a level 6, where you went through all the garbage. You got the girl you wanted. You were like a regular. You inserted yourself back into the blue pill matrix, and then you decided, and then you seen that that's all bullshit, and then you become MGTOW, and then you could become a monk. Oh, that's much beautiful. Thank you, Garchamp. That's a better design. That's a great design, because monk is you. So I guess level 7 incel would be becoming a MGTOW monk, and when you're cool with the world and everything's groovy. But level 6 is you become a MGTOW. I like that. Because you've come to the realization that it's a trap, and you've been lied to all your life. You got to experience that thing that you wanted most off in the world, and you experienced it, and you found out that it's a minefield, and women are women, and there's hypergamy and gynocentrism, and they're evil, and most of them want to just kill you, and you become a MGTOW. Beautiful. That's perfect. So level 6 of incel would be becoming a MGTOW. Like it. I should write these things down, but I can go over so level 0 is not knowing you're an incel. Level 1 was accepting that you are an incel. Level 2 is working on those things that could make you a better person. Level 3 would be I don't know, how did I put that? Level 3 would be a long-term relationship. Level 4 would be inserting yourself back into the blue pill world as a normal person. And then level 5 would be, or level 6 would be MGTOW. I lost a level there somewhere. I'll have to go back over them. Or maybe I just came up short on my metaphysics with one of them. It's possible. It's possible. I wasn't taking this very seriously anyways. But yeah, level 6, I like that. Or level 5 would be, yeah, you're right. I was right. Level 5 would be you become a MGTOW. Level 6 would become you become a MGTOW monk. Yeah. And level 7 would be non-obtainium. You become a immortal superhero, which none of us can. Sounds like a program. We just developed a whole program of how to work incels up to becoming MGTOW monks, and that was what this was all about. And I wanted to talk about Adler and how Adler can help out with some of that. And I hope that the incels will go read a little bit of Adler about their complexes and their inferiority complex, and how to deal with that, and because Adler was an incel. So he knows how to deal with that. I don't think Jung was an incel. No, Jung, and he wasn't an incel. He did pretty good with the women, as I heard. Uh, and Freud was, no, that could be up for debate whether Freud was an incel. He was always thinking about sex. I think he was a simp. Freud was a simp, wasn't he? Yeah. If you had to, who is the biggest simp of all the philosophers and the psychology and psychological philosophers like that? That would be Freud. Freud was the mama's boy simp. Yeah, that's true. Very progressive, Joe. Warm fuzzies to you and yours. Yeah. Yeah, see, I'm the incel whisperer, and that's what I'm going to become. That's my new thing for this month, at least, I suppose, or this week. I'm the incel whisperer, and damn. When do I get my TV show? You know, Joe, the incel whisperer. I go into houses and shit, and like, hey, so you're an incel, you know? Let me help you out with that, and do my incel whispering and you know, get them into level 6 monk. I'm bringing incels up to level 6 monk. So that's about all I got. How long have I been talking here? I think I'm losing interest now, and 100 minutes, exactly 100 minutes at this point. I love that. So I've been talking for 100 minutes, and that's a little over my usual rant. And but we had a destination we needed to get there. We needed to fill out the five levels. So we'll determine that there is 5 or 6 levels, and an incel, and we'll end with that. And you can go back and listen if you want to this whole thing, but we solved it, and I'll be writing the book about this and sending it to the incels. And hopefully we can avoid some murdery situations, because they're not treated that well. And I can see at a certain point they're men, and they're going to pop if society keeps treating them like they do, instead of considering them as a disadvantaged group. But that would be an interesting thing to write and put it before Congress. Incels, the disadvantaged group. We have to start looking at them like feminists, or any other disadvantaged group in this. In have programs and that stuff, and then all the congressmen would start freaking out. So it would just be funny most of the time, and that's worth it, I suppose. But that's all I wanted to talk about today, and I hope you were entertained, if not anything. And I hope your weekend's going good. I think I'm going to cook some hot dogs tomorrow. I'm going to make a poor boy tomorrow, whether it's rain or shine, or I'm going to open that bag of those $11 cons up, because I really want one, and I've been looking at them for 2 days now, and I'm going to open that and do the barbecue. And it's getting warm, and it's getting to that point there. Spring is here, and SFM knows what happens when spring gets, and all the young men get out there and start getting a little cocky. That'll be interesting to watch. And baseball's here again, and I'm enjoying some baseball, which I love. I love baseball. I love watching baseball. My first job at Mobile Oil, they'd play the baseball games over the intercom, and it was like me and my boss both loved baseball. And it's like everybody hated it. They hated it, but it was cool. Yeah, that's that. And I hope your weekend's going okay, and everything's okay in your life. And I hope MGTOW's working out for you, and your MGTOW's working out. And we'll get back on some MGTOW subjects sooner or later here, but I'm just so fascinated with the incels. Hello, Steve Hoka, rock and roll. Steve Hoka was here. Yeah. I wrote that somewhere today. You've been following me, because I wrote Kilroy was here. Remember the Kilroy? Kilroy was here when he's looking over the wall, and it was the meme, for one of the first memes. Kilroy was here, and Steve Oka was here. Yeah, so I hope you're all having great. And like I ended this thing every time I end it, it's like, hey, MGTOW depends on each and every one of you, and thanks for coming around, and thanks for being my friend and being groovy people. And I pride myself on the quality of the men that come around. You're not casually cruel. You're groovy guys. You keep it real cool around here, and I appreciate that. I appreciate each and every one of you, and most of all, man, thanks for being MGTOW. MGTOW.